Just making sure everything's okay before I do anything more. Yeah, okay, we're good. Let's see. I try to improve something every time. So I've added a camera because it's what everyone likes to see when people do art streams. Anyway, I suppose it's seeing the actual art. I don't really care what the person is talking about. I guess it's soothing or something. I don't know. I might have undiagnosed ADHD. Who's to say, really? But I thought I had ADHD, and my dad thought I had autism. Also, you didn't know my autistic nonverbal cousin was autistic nonverbal, so I don't really listen to anything he says. So why did I have hard pencils? Okay. Kind of sucks that the medium is not in the middle. Alright, I haven't opened this in 2 years. It's just full of colored pencils from various different companies because my family doesn't really know what I like, but they tangentially know that I like art. Ergo, hundreds of colored pencils and watercolors and stuff. Well, sometimes it is. There's at least 5 different kinds of colored pencils in here. I'm getting distracted because there's just other stuff in here. Which might be why I have ADHD. But I'm very hyperbolic when it comes to brain things. Why did I have so many of the good pencils? Oh, this is from my high school. I guess I did take this back, and then I gotta add paintbrushes. I don't know why I'm taking these out. Taking them out isn't gonna make me use them, I guess. My only incentive is spite. And I don't really know how I can trick myself into hating a colored pencil company. Okay, we're just gonna say it's okay and start picking out skin colors. I don't know. John Cena's a very pasty guy, so I don't really know if it's a good or bad thing, because if I want to add some detail, then I kind of gotta fuck around and find out. I think I'm better at color penciling back skin, because it's easier to see the different hues in it. White people are just like, so many of those like shades, just like, oh, pick the right shade. And it's like, I don't know. The point is, I'm kind of losing control of the metaphor because I'm multitasking a little bit too hard. Point is, I have a hard time figuring out the different, that might be a little dark, figuring out the different hues in white people's skin. Because it's all very small variations of peach and brown and orange and red, rather than like browns and purples and reds. I just need to have more color variation, at least that my eye can pick up. It doesn't help with the fact that I have so many color palettes. You know. At some point I should stop. But my anxiety is not letting me, because what if I had a color that I really could use, and I didn't have it because my dumbass decided to stop. So now, we all have to sit here while I find 50,000 variations of brown and skin color, as we used to call it when we were children. It's a little fucked, isn't it? But I guess I am fairly white passing for a Latino, so maybe I'm not the one to comment on it. Hey, this art teacher who says I'm bad at differentiating different colors in a single medium. She was right, but again, I just hated my art teacher. Okay. At some point, this is gonna get a little ridiculous. Yes, I'm saying it hasn't yet. Oh no, man, I'm fucking delusional. I don't think the state of New Hampshire exists. I don't see anything happening there, you know? And that's one of the tamer of my beliefs. I'm just saying, if the state of New Hampshire existed, maybe they should be more relevant. If I'm supposed to believe this magical frickin' state exists. I'm pretty sure this one's a little too gray. Also, Gunsuit doesn't have a very pink undertone, so. You know what? Whatever. I've committed. I have too many colors. And not even a single clue where to start. I guess I should start with my accolades in watercolor. I mean, why do I keep saying watercolor? So watercolor pencils? I don't know. I'm proficient in colored pencils, but it's not my preferred medium, and it's not my best medium. And you can't add a lot of details when you're doing, like, because I have to do a very preliminary sketch. Yes, this is my definition of preliminary sketch. Before you do colored pencils, and that kind of fricks me over a little bit. Also, I'm not very good at doing, like, light to dark. I mean, you don't have to do it that much for colored pencils, but sometimes you do. Or is it dark to light? I'm gonna end up confusing myself even more. I think I'm just in a constant state of confusion. Because I used to think I was very eloquent. And then I started talking on a camera. And then I realized that I'm probably just gaslighting myself into believing I can string together a coherent sentence. Which isn't great for where my head's at. But it's fine. That's what the therapist is for. Also, I draw way too hard with a pencil. So we're going to have to help most of my pencil lines get covered up. Anyways, tomorrow the first Peacemaker episode is dropping for the second season, which is great. I'm just gonna assume everything's doing fine. Sorry. When something catches my eye like a cat, I completely forget everything that I just did, and I have to do a full factory reset. I blame it on the fact I was born because of a mouse. And now I'm just kind of built like an animal. If there's sun around, I'll fall asleep. I've fallen asleep in a lot of places I probably shouldn't have, up to and including the soap car box in front of X2, a concrete basketball court, those blue wire benches that they put in playgrounds, and on the street, like sidewalk. Just because it was the right amount of sunny and I was the right amount of tired. That just means I didn't get enough sleep the day before. When things distract me, I forget everything I'm doing. And my eyes get kind of big, like when a cat sees a prey animal. When I feel uneasy, I start to meerkat. And like around at my surroundings. But that's kind of part of a bigger issue. Also, I can do a fairly convincing growl. But that's about the only impression I could do. That's why I make a good zombie. Which is ironic because I'm scared of zombies. Or was afraid of zombies. Being afraid of zombies is weird because, like, it's never gonna happen, but if it was to happen, who wouldn't be afraid of them? You know, it's, like, different from other fears in the sense that it's only irrational because it's a concept that can't happen, but the second it happens, it's no longer an irrational fear. I guess you can say that about a lot of fears. It made a little more sense in my mind, admittedly. Okay. Of course, I spent like 5 hours writing notes for this, and I couldn't even be bothered to go to the first page. I wonder how long it's going to take me to finish this notebook. I don't actually finish notebooks. Which, as an artist, I think it's a bad omen. Okay. Should I preface this with anything? I watched Peacemaker when it came out a couple years ago. And the thing about Peacemaker is it's a bit confusing because of the continuity. Because technically the DCU starts with Creature Commandos, but Creature Commandos was like referenced the Peacemaker TV show and the second Suicide Squad movie. And the second Suicide movie is technically a sequel, and the second Suicide movie is also like a spin-off of a Peacemaker is a spin-off of. You don't want to know what this precariously balanced thing on. You didn't see anything. Not me saying you don't want to know how fuck this is, and then immediately the gods, probably our gods that I pissed off, just decided to show everyone my secrets. Also, the reason my desk is painted like a rainbow is because this is my mom's idea of being an ally. And I just sort of have to live with it. And, you know, it's better than hate, I suppose. God. See, I lose my train of thought. It's just really hot in here, even though I have my fans on. It is 94 right now. Okay. Anyways, point is, Creature Commandos is canon. Some of the things in Peacemaker are canon. One or two things in Suicide Squad 2 was canon. Basically nothing in Suicide Squad is canon. And James Gunn has a podcast where he talked about the first season of Peacemaker, so you understand what is canon in it, because it's the second season is automatically canon. Okay, that's just done with the prefacing, because if I talk anymore, God's gonna strike me down where I stand, and then I'm finally gonna go to hell. Before you ask, no, it's not because I'm bisexual. I've done things I'm proud of. Most of the things that would get me to hell. Let's pretend I didn't say that. I wasn't voted most likely to go to jail. in middle school. No siree, Bob. Again, I have a hard time working, like, building on values. So, this is gonna be a fun little roller coaster. Okay. The first episode, A Whole New World. I don't really know. The naming scheme for these episodes is very specific, but this one kind of goes against that grain. I should probably get the color sharpener right. Kill myself. I have to stop myself from singing every 5 seconds. I'm not a theater kid. I sing too much to not be a theater kid. Okay. So, we get some flashbacks to the starfish incident, which is what the second Suicide Squad movie was about. So Peacemaker, in that movie he gets shot, spoilers, and now he is in the hospital. And so basically this is him healing. Well, he's already healed. This is him getting released from hospital. And so, like, the doctor says, oh, you only got, like, a broken clavicle, really, from all that. Like, just take it easy on your shoulder and you can leave. And then, since he was supposed to be in prison, that's where they recruited him from. He's a little confused. He's waiting for the metaphorical other shoe to drop. And he goes out and he asks the janitor, who he's, like, interacted with throughout his hospital stay, if anyone was, like, looking for him. And they have a fun little banter scene where he's like, oh, you're Peacemaker, that racist guy. He's like, I'm not racist. And then he's like, he sure could kill a lot of minorities. He's like, I kill bad guys. And he's like, eh. And he's like, I don't see you patrolling any white neighborhoods for bad guys. And then he, like, makes a promise to do that. It's a fun little scene. It's a recurring joke of Peacemaker being racist. It doesn't really get a payoff. It's just, I think it's just a little fun little foreshadowing based on who his dad is. Should I do more? He doesn't have a, at least there's me, hello. Sometimes, as an artist, you feel like you're inventing colors in order to add some sort of dimension, or, you know, to make it feel more real. Because you have to be sort of detail oriented if you want to make something realistic. I mean, even if you don't want to make something realistic. But sometimes it feels like you're just making things up. Because you're, like, adding colors that no one else sees, adding details that no one else will appreciate. Being an artist is just the definition of you're doing this to yourself. No one asked for this. I might have added too much yellow, which is exactly my point. Okay, so he leaves the hospital. There ends up being someone watching out. They say, oh, he's out of the hospital. Chris is his name, Peacemaker's name. So Chris leaves the hospital. He gets into an Uber taxi, and he thinks he's home free. He celebrates a little bit. He gets back home. He's looking at his voicemails. The only person that called him was Vigilante. And then he's, like, looking, because the police didn't clean up his home, because why would they? The crew shows up and waves a gun in his face. because looks like Peacemaker wasn't home free, and maybe they didn't forget about the criminal, uh, who is healing from his injury. So they take him back to his HQ, basically. Well, no, they do it inside his house. Sorry, I'm getting seems confused already. This is not a good sign for me. My brain is already melting inside of my head. I'm literally turning into soup as we speak. And I don't think I'll be a good tasting one. So they break it home, and there's a lot of notifications to guns. We also get introduced a little bit before this to Adebayo. She's new to the team, and her wife are moving into the same place everyone else kind of lives. And basically, her and her wife lost their jobs, so now she has to take this riskier job so that she can get enough money that they can find something they like more. So it's kind of like just a job to make some money. We find out later like how exactly she like got into this, because it's kind of like a wild job to just do for some dough. And so she's like introducing herself to like Chris and all the other members, and this really awkward scene where she just keeps talking and talking and talking. But this introduces us to everyone for the most part. And then Mern, I think it was Mern. Basically, they explain like what's happening. So, what the hell? Sorry, notification. So basically, there's these things called butterflies. And butterflies are these alien race, and they're taking over people, and they need a contra killer to kill the people associated with this in one way or another. Chris doesn't get a lot of information, even though he like asks for it, because he's kind of their goon, their lackey, they say. Like, he's the prisoner that they're letting stay out of jail in exchange for helping them all. He's a darker brown. So Chris agrees to help, but he has to get some supplies from his dad. So Chris goes. Sorry, I just want to get this vein right. I really need to get better at metaphorically walking and talking, I suppose. 'Cause I'm not exercising doing this. I think there's some purple here. So Chris goes to see his dad. So this is where we first get introduced to Augie, White Dragon, Nazi, hates Chris. That's basically the footnotes. So basically he's like, hey dad, got out of prison, and he's like, okay. And he's like, why didn't you cancel my phone plan? And he's like, that's not my fucking job. And he's like, oh, I was in the hospital. I got shot and a building fell on me. And he's like, you got shot? You let yourself get shot? Jesus Christ, how the fuck did you come out of me, kid? And it's just like this scene where like every time Chris tries to reach out, he immediately gets like rebuffed or mocked, or basically just like some sort of like death threat against him by his dad. And he gets his pet eagle from him, and his dad doesn't even like stay to like take a picture or care. And he like then gets some helmets from him because his dad has this like quantum enclosing chamber, I believe is what they call it, which is like interdimensional pocket like thing where it's just like bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And it stores like his dad's stuff because his dad's like very smart technically wise. so he can do all these things, and he like builds Peacemaker's equipment. And they also like go inside and have some food. And it's in this scene we kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but basically the only way Peacemaker can think to connect with his dad is to tell him a story about one of the Bloodsport, the person he was teamed up with in Suicide Squad, getting brutalized as a kid by rats because his dad locked him in a box with a bunch of rats. And it's the only time we've seen Augie express any sort of like positive emotion, even though it's like kind of negative. And Peacemaker's obviously just laughing because he's laughing. And then Augie remembers something because he's a smart guy. That he got shot. And he's like, that wasn't the guy who shot you, wasn't it? And then Peacemaker's like, deflects, being like, oh, I can't say, like, mission details and stuff. Like, blah, 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 blah. And Augie sees right through him and calls him an embarrassment. It's saying, basically, I should have killed you when you first came out of your mother. The wrong son died. Blah, blah, blah. I don't really remember when he says most of his insults. It doesn't really matter. It's a tough scene to get through. Because clearly John Cena's character, Chris, just really wants to connect with his father, really wants some sort of, oh, are you okay? You did good. It was out of your control. Like, any sort of acknowledgement that isn't negative and is one chance of doing it by, like, sinking to his level. He can't even do that right. Like, he can't even pretend. Like, when his dad hands him the helmet, he's like, you're gonna kill a lot of, like, minorities with this. And he's like, that's not really what I do. And he's like, okay. So it's just a thing where it's like, Peacemaker cannot connect with his father, no matter what he does. I don't know if I made this to one color or another color, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I definitely made this too yellow. It doesn't help that I added, like, purple to it, so the yellow part kind of get, like, contrasted very heavily. I can't really fix the yellowness, per se, but I can add some peach to tone it down a little bit. Let's move on to the other arm. Okay. Where are we? So Peacemaker leaves dejected and he goes to the place where everyone's meeting up for dinner. He orders some food and we see this character that seems to recognize him named Adrian, who's his friend Gut's little brother. Apparently Gut's real name is Doreen. I'm really not sure which one is worse. It is what it is. We get a fun scene with Adrian outside where he's like really happy that Peacemaker is back. He starts dancing in a very embarrassing way. His coworker comes out, not super questioning. Adrian kind of digs this hole himself and just says he's celebrating because his girlfriend is pregnant. And then it kind of snowballs, and he says that his girlfriend is pregnant. They're getting an abortion. They've only been together a couple months. That's why he's happy. Do you want to come with me to the abortion? It just spirals out of control. There's not a lot to talk about in this scene. It's kind of just setting things up this episode because there's not. I don't really want to bring insights about the character into it just yet when we're just, like, getting introduced to them. So I'm just gonna, like, put out a few things before I get back to my drawing. So who they finish their talk. John Cena gets the Chris gets the dossier on who they're gonna kill. He gets a little bit more information about them, not a lot. He calls the waitress sweet cheeks, and people are like, "You're talking about her butt," and he's like, "No, I'm talking about her cheeks." And I said something about her tits, then maybe I would have. And so he was like very crass, even though he's not as bad as his dad. We get introduced to their office space, which is kind of bad. Chris notices hardcore after their meeting, go into a bar. He tries to talk to her. She beats up a few guys that were trying to were just messing with her at a bar. Like one of them hit on her, and then she insulted him. And then his friend decided that it was his business and tried to cuss her out. And then she took him out. And then Chris thought that was hot, and then she thought he was not. And she walks away. And it's relatable in a way where it's just she's just trying to exist. She's basically saying God, I can't even get a freaking drink for guys like you come crawling out, because she mentions that he's attractive tangentially, but not really complimenting him, and he just only hears it as her calling him attractive. Kind of proving her point. He takes it very well because he immediately hooks up with this rocker chick with big hair. They have sex. Then we see that Arabile is talking to Amanda Waller. Apparently she was sent on the team as a spy because she was the only one that she could trust, and she ends up being Amanda Waller's daughter. We get a fight scene between Chris and the rocker chick. I think her name's Annie. Because it turns out she's not human. She's super strong. She screeches. She walks weirdly. And they have a fight scene, and Chris realizes very quickly that he does not have the abilities to defeat her, and he does a tactical retreat after she knocks him through a wall. He jumps out of the apartment building. She follows after him, still in her underwear. They're both still in her underwear. He crawls to his car. He gets one of the helmets that his dad gives him. He activates Sonic Boom, and she blows up. And that is where it ends, with him just standing in a pile of everything. And his eagle gives him an opossum, which is also another recurring bit. I might have made him too tan. Okay. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in my notes. There's just a few things, the team clearly doesn't respect Peacemaker. They still view him as the brute that killed Rick Flag and Suicide Squad. Peacemaker clearly trying to get any iota of anything positive from his dad, and it's just not happening. Where did I get that? James Gunn said that the first season of Peacemaker is a platonic love story between Adebayo and John Cena. They do have a nice scene where they connect outside, where they talk a little bit, and she laughs at his jokes, and he laughs at hers, and they connect a little bit. The only thing non-canon in this episode is Aquaman stuff. And the end credits scene is his dad basically telling him to get scabies, because every man should get scabies once in their life. I do not know what scabies is. I do not want to know. Okay. Okay. Next episode, Best Friends for Never. So basically, while he goes up to his apartment to get his stuff, he immediately calls Harcourt to basically explain what is happening. Oh, fuck. Are you able to plug in something? Oh. So he's basically telling her that he got attacked by a butterfly. He killed it, and now he is going back to the apartment to get his stuff, and they'll be like, okay, we're on our way. Harcourt goes and wakes up Adebayo and tells her they have to get in the car. He's in trouble. So Adebayo drives while they track his location. And Harcourt puts together this very complicated blow dart system. Basically, in this scene, it's like Harcourt's not so subtly implying that Adebayo has to put her wife somewhere else because it's dangerous to have her so close to the mission. Basically, like, it's not so much that Harcourt hates Adebayo, but she's a new variable, and she's clearly not on the same level as everyone else. Like, it's an unknown variable, and she clearly doesn't understand all the risks that they do, and she's not as battle ready as she is. So it's not like she doesn't hate him like she hates Peacemaker, but she definitely doesn't respect her that much, and it's definitely a little cold to her, and doesn't explain things in a very nice way. Probably because she believes that if she got here, that she should do something. And it's also the fact that they kind of, both John Economos and Harcourt both believe that they're experiencing some sort of punishment from Waller. So the fact that she gets someone who seems clearly green and experienced is just another, like, you're clearly being punished for the actions that she took against me in the Suicide Squad movie. Okay. So Chris gets his stuff together. He takes a few things from her apartment, including like some cookie cutters and some albums because she's dead anyway. And then he like escapes because the cops are coming, and he accidentally stuck his head out the window, so they know that he's there. He goes up a floor or down a floor, I don't remember. He breaks into his couple's room. They're very dysfunctional. He ties them up. He leaves, and he like climbs down a very complicated series of steps. It seems like it hurts a lot and also the fact that he still has a healing clavicle injury. He gets stopped at the last point, and Harcourt takes out the bad guys there. The main detectives that we meet, Song and Fitzgerald. Song notices him from afar. I guess guns have that big of a range. And she starts shooting at him. He gets into the car. They drive off. They get back to HQ so everyone can talk about what happened. They start pointing fingers. Like, everyone thinks it's someone else. Harcourt thinks it's Adebayo because she doesn't know who it is. Chris thinks it's John. Like, everyone's just pointing fingers, trying to figure out who is the guy who tipped off the butterflies to where he was at. Then they realized Chris just left it open, and she was reading through it, and it was actually his fault because she just wanted to hook up with him, and she happened to stumble across the guy who was sent to kill them. While this is happening, Myrn, like, while they're, like, escaping in the beginning, Myrn tells John to switch the car registration, because he has to leave his car there because he damaged it in the sonic blast. So John frames his father, switching out his fingerprints and stuff like that, which ends up having repercussions in the future. I actually pushed this too far out. It is what it is. I gotta our brown here. Okay. Everyone gets mad at Chris, and he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Leave it in the car? Somebody could have stolen it. And then it's like, oh, the worst happened. I have really weird notes for this, so it's kind of hard to, like, figure out where I'm at. Oh yeah, Hardcore gets in like Adebayo's face about like what's happening. Um and like saying like she's not built for this, and that's kind of what Adebayo says like the whole time. Mern tells Adebayo to grab the witnesses, and then kind of like dealing with everything as it comes. Chris gets mad at everyone and then leaves. Um, and then we kind of get him crying. John Cena cries really funny. Probably not actual crying, but the way he cries in the scenes are really funny when he does. The way his face scrunches up. Anyways, he's trying to cry. He's basically wondering why he's such a bully and why he just like pushes people away and he's like mean to everyone. And then we get Vigilante for the first time who knocks on his window. And then to deflect from the fact that he was crying, John Cena like basically says that Vigilante was jerking off to him, and then I added too much yellow. So Vigilante has to prove that he isn't. Then he asks if he's crying, and he said he's just doing facial exercises, and he could tell he doesn't know what it is because he has such a skinny, scrawny face. Which is fair. Oof. Yeah, I added too much yellow. What you gonna do? It is what it is. Because the yellow's kind of here. These colors are starting to blend together. I don't want a freaking Jersey Mike's sub. Jersey Mike's is the worst one. Okay. That'll do. Let's do the face, right? Yeah. It's the only thing that's skin color left, and I don't have to use these colors anymore. Right? Because, yeah, it's just yellow red. Okay. So, he basically, in this scene, he's just like wondering why he's pushing everyone away. Saying that John could be his friend if he wasn't such a bully. Basically saying that he was a joke. Flag was right when he called him that. And then we get this big tonal shift with Vigilante, who Smith immediately gaslights into believing that he was in the wrong, that he was a perv, that he has a weak face and he just doesn't understand what's happening. So then they're talking because Peacemaker's been in jail for a long time. Vigilante helps him clean up, while Peacemaker's sharing some of his doubts of his philosophy for the first time. And we learn that Vigilante's just a psychopath. Basically, he's like, do you think I enjoy killing people? Do you think when I see someone litter on the street or do graffiti that I enjoy putting a bullet in their head? And then Chris is like, oh yeah, no, obviously not. And he's like, I do. What? So clearly they have very different philosophies for this. Chris is thinking about what killing means to him, and if that's even something he wanted to do or still wants to do, while Vigilante clearly bad influence, derives pleasure from it, and punishing people, and believes he has to set John Cena straight. But every time I see him, I just remember he's John Cena, and then immediately forget to say Chris. Anyways, he believes he has to set him straight. Okay. So they kind of come at an impasse. So they just decide to shoot stuff outside. Well, the police go to talk to Augie because the car is registered in his name. And the witnesses say it was him later on. The crew is teaming up to go kill the senator Goff, which is who Peacemaker got the dossier on. So they like get into the car to leave. It's we learn that the rest of the team learns that Autobot has a wife. John Cena acts the way you expect his character to, basically asking invasive questions like, is scissoring real? And that saying like he's an ally, which is kind of funny down the road. We learned that one of the things Chris took from the girl's house is a spaceship, so that's a little weird. I'm also probably confusing episode 2 and 3, because I accidentally like fucked some things up when I was writing down notes. We talk about how White Dragon was like a cape Nazi supervillain, superhero, depending on who you ask. Like if you ask him, Peacemaker has a threesome with the wife of the hostage you took in Vigilante. As I said, I like messed some things up. Yeah, basically, the only thing that's not canon in episode 2 is Batmite. I think, and then the end credits scene is that the witness takes the photo. So a few things to bring up as we get a little bit more of an insight into August Smith. We knew he had some like weird race things, because he like mentions it tangentially, but this first time we see him like being overtly racist. Because Detective Sophie, what did I call her? The detective lady is Asian, and we see this. Fuck, I'm so hot right now. We see this like reflected in the way she talks, and she clearly tries to get one back at him, and it doesn't really go over as well. We also see a little bit into Peacemaker's like thoughts at this time. Like he deflects to like bullying tactics, but it clearly doesn't make him happy because all he does is desperately wants to connect with someone, like his father or like friends, but he doesn't know how to do that without aggression. We get a little bit of insight into Vigilante, who's like a psychopath and like kind of Chris's only friend, at least at this point. But Chris doesn't really like him at all and doesn't really agree with most of his actions. He finds him only insane, but he lets him like tag along. Like he says that they're best friends. He's like, Eagly's my best friend. And he's like, okay, human best friends. And he like just doesn't answer the question. So we also get some like insights on how Vigilante's kind of delusional and very much idolizes Peacemaker and idolizes what they do, and then she's just not kind of who Chris is anymore. And he can't really. The only person he can really talk about it to is Vigilante, because that's the only person he talks to. But Vigilante clearly doesn't have the same philosophy as him. In fact, he believes that he can like fix Chris's crisis of faith by just like saying, "Oh, well, don't we like killing people? Like we're doing this all for peace. Like this is the price you have to pay. If you do something bad, you get killed." And we also kind of see this a little more in episode 2, where we meet as like a neighbor. We met him a little bit before, and like Peacemaker gets into like a fight with him, and then he gets into like another fight with him later on in the series, where he like says like the reason he doesn't have a coterie of supervillains like Batman is because he kills them all, and like Batman's a pussy for not doing that, and it's he's directly responsible for any person that kills you know, that he doesn't kill. If they kill someone, that he's directly responsible for their deaths. So we get all that. Oh, I think I'm making this. I'm doing too big of strokes here. Well, it'll either come together or it won't. All art starts in the ugly phase. But you just gotta trust that this is a phase. And not how he defines himself. Yeah. Let's go into episode 3 a little bit more. So, Chris is talking about he doesn't like small people, that they freak him out because he found out about this ship. So he thinks that they're fighting a lot of small people because he does not know what a butterfly is. Really, he's just making guesses based on the context clues he gets, and they're off driving away to kill the senator. Vigilante shows up, having followed Peacemaker, and is trying to appear conspicuous. They tell him to go away, and he reluctantly does. For now, they end up they're like setting up things. They end up arriving at his house. They're setting up like cams and stuff. Well, Chris is like setting up his guns, and they're setting up a little sniper nest with Harcourt and Peacemaker. We get a few more like insights into Chris's doubts here, where he connects with Harcourt a little bit by talking about how they both got into this. It's something to do with their dads. It's the first time like Harcourt sees him as something other than like the asshole that killed Rick Flag, and just like thinks he's like this good dude. When in reality he's just like a supervillain. I think a lot of the reasons they don't like him in the beginning is just like the arrogance of believing that your actions are okay and right. And also just like the inability to not know. They like no agency. Like Amanda Waller tells him to kill someone, and he does, and neither John nor Harcourt respect that because they go out of their way to, stop Amanda, and like that's why they're doing this mission. They respect that she doesn't trust them anymore, because they like both went out of their way to betray her because they didn't think what she was saying is right, while instead Peacemaker killed Rick Flag, saying it was orders, and it wasn't not orders. Like, it was heavily implied, like, if he had to, then do it. But he also, like, maybe could have done it a better way. Then again, Rick Flag was a better fighter than him. Anyways, it's just like Rick Flag was an honorable person. He was willing to betray his country to do what's right, and Peacemaker was willing to do whatever he can to save himself. And that's why I don't respect him, but this is the first time I see that he has, like, thoughts and feelings about this, especially since when they set up everything, he has a hard time killing, like, the family. Like, Harcourt says, like, I thought you could kill any man, woman, and child in the name of peace. And he like, obviously struggles with this. He's, all bark, no bite. He's saying he could do all these things, but, like, clearly, especially now that he's having this change of heart, can't. And he's kind of getting, like, mocked for it, so he's, like, making all these excuses, like, I can't shoot this gun without a dove of peace. We don't know that these people are bad guys, so why should we kill them preemptively? Like, stuff like that. But even when we know that they're bad people, Chris can't do it. And Myrn gets upset. We also learn a little bit about Myrn has a hard time, like, talking to people about emotions and stuff. He's very closed off. He shares that he feels somewhat sad about something, and he says, oh, this is the first time I shared him feeling. And he's like, you never even said he was cold? And he's like, no, I thought that was a pussy thing to do. But you know what? I am feeling a little bit chilly because I'm a changed man. And he's like, really? He's like, no. I'm just, like, practicing. That's a scene where he's like, Myrn's also fucked up, that all these people are kind of weird, but it's also a little bit of foreshadowing. I wonder if I should add some orange to this. I say as I add orange, not even discussing if I should or not. Sometimes you just gotta make decisions. Because you have to live with the art afterwards sometimes. So, you know, you could always throw it away if you hate it that much. Oh, yeah. Should add more shadows. So, Peacemaker just can't do it. They're trying to get him to do it. Everyone's yelling at him to do it. Mern's basically like, they sent me a killer that can't even kill. Peacemaker's vigilante shows up. He's basically like, step aside, puts his hand on his shoulder, and then starts happily humming while he takes out the 2 kids and the wife, but they're not able to take out the father in time. The whole reason that they came there because Judah Master shows up. And at this point, the only thing we know about butterflies is they have proboscis, they eat special food. They can act like humans, more or less, but it's somewhat exhausting for them. So the second they get home, they kind of drop the act immediately. So Judah Master shows up. He like punches out Hardcore. He knocks both Vigilante and Peacemaker out. Vigilante immediately tries to dip when he sees everyone else like knocked out, and he realizes that he can't defeat him, but it's too late. And they both get knocked out. Trying to figure out where I am. So then we get kind of the other security guard shows up to kill Hardcore, who's just woken up. Adebayo shows up with a gun. Hardcore tells, no matter whether or not he's a butterfly or not, you have to kill him. He's seen our faces. There's no telling what he can do. This is a secret off the books mission. You just have to do it. So Adebayo can't, especially not when he's like literally pleading with her. So Hardcore shoots him instead, and she's like pissed at her for not being able to do it because she knew that she was too green, she wasn't ready, that she got stuck with this incompetent soldier. And that's like pissing her off more because she sees this as a punishment. Which it kind of is, but like they are still saving the world, and they're the only ones entrusted with saving the world because they have to keep it off the books because they believe there's a lot of people in like government spaces and stuff who are butterflies. I mean, I don't really get into the repercussions of replacing all these people, I guess. I hate drawing people because then you realize how like fucked up they are. I guess I'm never gonna meet John Cena, so I can feel weird about the shape of his face. I guess weird's the wrong word. It's not like he has a bad face. He just has a lot going on. And now I know all those things he has going on with it, and it's a little weird for me. Admittedly. I should have a little more pink. There's a lot of pink to his ears. God, why people have so many, like, hidden hues? And they, like, add too much, and then it's just, like, it's harder to, like, hide it when you add too much. I suppose you have to make do. Let's add some more brown to combat all the pink colors we have got going on here. Yeah, so Hardcore is mad because she can't do anything right, in her opinion. So then we get they're in this torture room, essentially. And, oh no, wait. So Hardcore tells Adebayo to check to make sure he's not a butterfly so they can get a sample if he is. And Adebayo takes a knife to him. She meets up with the other people. Basically, she's like, he wasn't a butterfly, and Mern and Harcourt are basically like, okay, let's go find Peacemaker and Vigilante. And Economist is stuck in the car with instructions not to let anyone pass by any means necessary. I think this is as good as I'm gonna do before I add other things. It's kind of funny to look at it from above because he's just got it's like a skin mask. Okay. What should I do next? I suppose I should do hair since I have so many brown colors out. So basically, what happens is Peacemaker and Vigilante are both tied up because these butterflies have a vague sort of idea of what humanity is and what their how they tick, because they take over their brains and take over their minds and take over their bodies. Instead of torturing Peacemaker for information, he tortures Vigilante because he thinks that will make him talk more if he hurts someone he likes, because he believes that they have a lot of empathy and sympathy for each other and what makes people human. Which is kind of funny to see, a race that isn't human acknowledge it and then use it against them. You're going to see that a lot. In TV shows, usually it's just and you also don't see, then the protagonist is being like, that's what actually makes us special. But anyways, they end up chopping off Vigilante's foot. Peacemaker's basically like, keep giving it to me. I can take whatever you got. I'm never going to tell you anything. And Vigilante kind of just doesn't know what's happening. Even a little bit. He's like, maybe you could give him something. Because, Vigilante doesn't care. He doesn't have any stakes in this. He just followed Chris here. And then Chris was supposed to kill someone and he couldn't. So he was like, I'll do it instead. So Vigilante's kind of just along for a ride. And so Vigilante wants the torture to stop. So he's like, just give him anything. And he gets his show chopped off because Peacemaker won't. And he's basically saying, I'm not going to be able to walk anymore. He's the most important. And he's like, that can't be true. He can walk fine later. But Vigilante in the comics, I think, has I don't know, people will suspect that he has a very mild healing ability, which makes sense based on what we later things he goes on into the season. What else happens? Oh, we get this scene before they're tortured where Judo Master kind of throws chips and they have this weird flirty it's a little flirty scene where they're just mocking each other before Goth shows up. Goth tells Judo Master to go get the car, so he does. John realizes this is happening, freaks out, because he has to make sure no one escapes. So he runs over the car, so they have a bigger car. And then when Judo Master's crawling away, he hits him overhead a few times until he stops moving. He doesn't end up dying, they package him away. But it is a little brutal in a funny way. They end up escaping because Adebayo, Mern, and Harcourt get into the house. They find the secret passageway. They explode the door, and then they go into that kind of sets things off. Chris fights the butterfly long enough to get the shotgun he brought down there and use it to kill him. And then we see the butterfly for the first time crawl out of his head and fly away. Okay, I need to turn off notifications. This is a little annoying, really. I don't like doing lips. Because I suppose there's a... But just lips look weird on people. Everyone has such distinct lips. And we got people like Christian Bale and John Cena with these wide ass lips, and it's so hard to make them look right because they don't look right on a person's body in an objective way. And there's also the fact that you can't make the lips too pink because then it looks like they're wearing lipstick. Not that they don't make nude colored lipsticks. Whatever. A mouth is a mouth. Yeah. And I think at the end of the episode, there's like a joke about killing a family, and Vigilante says, "Too late." Okay. So as I said, like this is kind of. Is there anything I want to bring up? Doll Man's canon. That's a little funny. They connect with daddy issues. Yeah, it talked about how this first time they've seen it's like together and stuff. So that's always fun. I'm like 3 episodes in. There's 8 episodes. 5 left. I'm just trying to decide what things I should talk about because there's a few things I do want to bring up. And I'm trying to like figure out if it would be better or worse to bring it up into a longer conversation right later, or is now okay. I think we can talk more about Peacemaker at large in the next episode. Yeah, okay. They get back to HQ, like, vigilantes. Toe is mangled, but he'll live, he'll be able to walk, because he didn't harm the bone, just the meat. So they're back at HQ, and basically things didn't go that great. Mern talks to Peacemaker to the side, basically being like, "What was that? Can I trust you?" And he's like, I just can't kill kids if you don't say what's happening. Like, I don't know anything, and you're expecting me to just trust you and kill a kid? Like, what?" And he's like, "You sure that's it?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he sort of he doesn't, like, explicitly say he doesn't believe him, but it's kind of like press X to doubt going on there. Remind me of that a little too. Jark. We're just gonna roll with it. Do the other eyebrow. Well, I still have a vague idea of what the first eyebrow shape was. And that's a human face. It's human. More or less. It still looks kind of skin puppety without the eyeballs. Not that I think being able to see the eyeballs will make it look better, because it's not that high definition. Should I do some little pencils in here? It's really hard to tell which one's the black one. Weirdly enough, black is the hardest color to find, so it makes sense. But I have an unopened set. And there might be black in here. Okay. Okay, so they have to lock up Judah Master because they have to question him later. Chris ends up going home, and we get like some sort of like news report that a gorilla is missing. He pops by his dad's house. His dad is not there, so he uses the opportunity to steal the helmets while he has a chance. As he's leaving, he gets in a fight with a neighbor when the neighbor reveals that his father has gone to jail, and he has a rough idea why. To say the least. That's some definition to leaps. Yes, we're calling them leaps. Maybe that'll make me feel less uncomfortable about them. I just don't like drawing lips, especially on men. Because some characters you can get away with like more feminine lips, but some characters it just feels off. And you don't really know what you're doing, do you? Where were we? I always forget. Okay, so he finds out his dad's been framed. He immediately goes to the prison. He's mad because he trusted these people somewhat, and they like put his father away because he still like cares about him. They're kind of having a internal panic about what would happen if Peacemaker goes to see his father in prison, if he says too much to him, reveals too much of the plan. If he tries to get his father out, and then Peacemaker goes to jail, like all these different things. So they send Adebayo to help. This is where we also figure out Vigilante's identity. And he tries to like pass it off as that he just happens to sound like Vigilante, and Vigilante sounds like a cool person, but that's not who he is. And he hurt himself in a snowboarding accident. But they all know who he is. It does not work. Adebayo tells him like he's not gonna get anything from talking to his father. His father's a bad person, but Peacemaker's like, but he's my father at the end of the day. It's just kind of like Peacemaker's whole philosophy on him, like, because he clearly doesn't share the same ideas his father does. But he has a hard time giving up on him because he's family, even if he's a bad person. He also learns that they have like a file on him and they know things that makes him a little nervous. But we don't know what they know yet at this time. So Peacemaker goes to talk to his father. He ends up spilling the beans on how they did it and why they did it, and he tries to like say he is like sorry, and his dad just like goes off on him saying he should have killed him when he had a chance. The wrong brother died. Blah blah blah. Peacemaker ends up saying this whole oh okay. Um, Peacemaker ends up saying this whole thing about how um like he's a grower, not a shower, basically comparing himself to a child because his father did first. But basically, he's just trying to say, like, I know you don't love me right now, but maybe you can learn. Maybe I grow on people like a fungus. Maybe one day you can love me too. It doesn't really go over well. He immediately wants to talk to the guards and talk to the detective so he can get out and say that it was his kid and not him. Adebayo, so I'm finished with the face detail part. Adebayo basically tells Vigilante that he should kill his father so he gets himself put into jail. Um, Chris goes back to the building, and basically Judo Master's gone, so he goes out to find him. They get into a fight. Adebayo shoots him. This is the first time she shoots someone. That's like a whole thing. Chris says like she's not done. Then a vigilante goes to prison. He gets yelled at a bunch of people. He has a fight with some Nazis, but he isn't able to find Chris. He mentions that Chris is related to Chris, so now his dad thinks that he's trying to kill him, and that's like a whole thing, which like progresses the plot more. Um, Hardcore relates to Adebayo a little bit by saying she didn't have her period for 3 months after she killed her first guy. Um, we learn a little bit about how Chris's brother died. He had like a seizure. We also learn that Chris like killed other people for his dad, and he was like crying about it as a kid. Adebayo was ignoring her wife a little bit. Um, Adrian gets let out of prison, having not solved anything. We learn about this place called Galanta. It's a bottling company, might come important later. Both of the known butterflies had connections to it. There's a few other things that I don't really remember from my notes. And while we pull out red, no, I guess we should do this part for the pants first. We'll have them black out and then I can get like a subtle brown maybe. To give some color. Yeah. That'll do. And I guess you could use the. I'm not really good at understanding how white colored pencil works. So, don't expect anything brown breaking. Okay. So, there's a few things I want to bring up. First is Adebayo and Harcourt's relationship. So, a lot of Harcourt's character is she's very closed off from the team. She's very mad. She's a professional and she's kind of been like put on a back burner with this shit detail, with this shit crew, and like everything's a kind of punishment to her. She doesn't like Peacemaker. She finds him a coward. That's a punishment. She doesn't like Adebayo. Adebayo is not as good as she is. That's a punishment. And there's some like valid things in the fact that like Chris isn't the greatest guy to talk to, especially as a woman. Sometimes, and like Adebayo clearly isn't, as she says so much, built for it so much in the beginning. Like she's new, she has to learn a few things. And we kind of see Harcourt like changing her mind on this, and she does like a complete 180 later on in the series. But essentially, it's just like first she realizes that her and Chris are very similar. Both of their parents like wanted weapons, not children, and raised them as such. Like, so they both have problems with that. And it's just like these little things that make Chris human. So, and like him not wanting to kill as much anymore makes her realize that maybe he is growing a backbone, maybe he can grow one, maybe he is changing, maybe she was too harsh to put judgments on, so this is a little bit of her shell breaking. We also get some of it when like Adebayo like steps up. In the beginning she has a hard time because it's a hard kill. It's like it's a guy who's like pleading with his family who's more likely than not just at the wrong place at the wrong time and she can't do it. But when her friend's in danger, she's able to step up and actually shoot someone to kill. Like, she didn't go for an arm or anything. She went center mass. So clearly, like, she's more than just, like, has the technical skills, so to say. Maybe I should have blended this better. I do have a blending thing. If I can find it. So that's like a whole thing with her. It's just like her learning to realize that the people around her are human too. That nothing's like everything that happened to her isn't necessarily a punishment. It's when punishment she makes it one. But yeah, it's just basically learning that Adebayo is a lot more competent than she looks. That Chris is a lot more human than he looks, and that she can start letting these people in a little bit more. We also get a little bit about how, like, we know that Chris, like, desperately wants to be liked by his father, by the people around him. He just wants the ability to connect with someone. But because of everything that happens with him, he doesn't really know how to talk to anyone without being mean. whether it's like a defense mechanism or he like thinks it's like a little bit funny. Who's to say, really? But it's just, it's the way he was raised. His father's mean to him, so he's like mean to other people. There's probably a little bit about it, and I'm like, cause when he's talking to like Vigilante's like, oh, that's just how he jokes. Like he's always been a bully, and Chris kind of reacts to it a little bit. Or it's basically like maybe a lot of it is like a coping mechanism. It's like, oh, if I'm a little mean to people, and but I still like them, but maybe my dad, even though he's a little bit mean, still likes me, and at least up into the scene, I'll touch on it a little bit more later. But his dad somewhat gives a shit about him, but doesn't really like him, at all. And basically, it's just like Peacemaker trying for the last time, really, to like connect with his father, trying to please his father by giving him too much detail, trying to like say, hey, maybe yeah, maybe I'm not hard to like, but maybe you could. Maybe if you tried a little hard, you can see maybe that there's something worth liking, something worth connecting to. Maybe I have some value. And the thing about Peacemaker is Chris is never the best in the room. He's never the smartest in the room. He's never the most skilled. He's never the best marksman. He's never the strongest, really, in any of the scenes. But it doesn't make him like a bad at like his jobs and stuff. Like he's very competent, but he's just like doesn't really excel in anything. And I think that like subtly like adds to his little fact that his character is just like so desperate for any sort of validation, but so antagonistic to any sort of like connection because he automatically assumes that they're gonna like reject him, so he rejects them first. And then he like convinces himself that they sort of like each other. And it's kind of funny because Vigilante is also delusional. He just is as a character. Like he believes, like he needs to kill all these people. He believes that Peacemaker is his friend. But then he like refuses to actually answer that question. But Chris is also sort of delusional in a way. He's delusional in believing that his father will someday care for him the way that he wants. That he isn't a bully, that his actions aren't just harmless jokes that everyone does. He's like trying to convince himself and others that he's okay with killing people no matter the consequences. That he's this hard, tough guy that can do whatever needs to be done. That he's a hero, but he's not like the heroes, He's better than them. Like, they are all good-hearted and pure and they don't kill people, but Peacemaker is better than that. He can do what needs to be done. He's not a pussy like everyone else because he has like a little bit of this hyper masculinity machismo going on where he's like posturing a lot. We can see it a lot in his like bisexuality that's like mentioned here and there. So something that Peacemaker does is he never like explicitly states his like sexuality. We like see it tangentially. And there's a lot to be said, just like don't show, don't tell. But I think it sort of adds to his character in sort of the way where it's like he kind of doesn't view his relationships with men as equal as his relationships with women. When he's talking to Hardcore, he says that he mentions he hasn't had sex with someone in a long time, and then he remembers, oh, he had sex with a man. He like calls his dick a lesbian. He has all these like different views on stuff, and he like never like explicitly like says the word when he's talking about Adebayo. how she's like a lesbian. He never like mentions like like you're not alone. Like I'm also queer in some sort of way or form. So I think it's like also something from his dad, where he like acts on it, but he doesn't like acknowledge it in a way, which I think is just interesting. Like it is something that he said. I just don't think he like considers that a valid part of his identity in any sort of shape or form. Um, and maybe he part of him is ashamed by it, and he doesn't see it as like a valid form of sex or a valid form of having a relationship. It'd be fun if we got to explore that a little bit more. Um, but then he has a lot of layers to his character, so I'm not mad that it's just sort of like an add-on to his like character and not like a main point in any sort of way. Especially since we have Adebayo. And I guess if we're gonna write like a character arc, maybe I prefer someone that understands it a little bit more. I think that's all there's to talk about from this sort of section. God, it's warm. Yeah, so that's episode 4. Oh, one more thing. So we get introduced to Judo Master in like the last 2 episodes, and I guess it's explored a little later. The hard thing about like Peacemaker is a lot of these like identities get explored at the end rather than in the middle, like other shows, or at least like Creature Commandos, where you could talk about like a different person's sort of like character arc. In this one, the character arc sort of like culminate towards the back half, and then I gotta talk for like ever and ever and ever and ever. I do have to do silver parts, but I've never done metal before, and I'd rather do something more comfortable with. So let's find some reds. Anyways, yeah. I guess I'm going to do a little bit of spoilers because I do want to talk about this. So, Juno Master like, gets mocked a little bit for his size, but he ends up being a very, very confident fighter. And they end up defeating him multiple times, but they have to do the thing where they have to like not beat him by strength or skill. They have to like trick him one way or another. I think that's enough red, so I'm not going to do what I did last time. And get every single red I have. Anyways. So yeah, they end up having to like trick him a little bit. And we also get like Hardcore purposely gets like knocked out the first time they fight Judo Master, like almost immediately. And it leads to like other scenes happening, like. But I just think it's interesting because you never really see like the female character being the one that gets so coincidentally knocked out, so this character can win. So this character has an easier time winning, I should say, because he's still better than Hardcore. We see that later. But Hardcore is like the only one we see actually like stand a chance against him. So that's probably why they also waited for his fight scene till later. Because she ended up being like the only one that like really. Because yeah, Peacemaker gets a few like shots into him, and this is the thing. And again, like this is usually stuff that they do for women, and it's nice to see it happening in like the opposite way. As someone that watches fight scenes a lot, so basically, Judo Master is smaller. He's physically weaker, especially to someone of John Cena's stature and size. So the way he has to win is he has to be better than him. Like the way he fights has to be better. And that's usually what happens to women characters. Like, there's no... It doesn't make sense for, like, Sometimes I feel like I take it too far, but that's a conversation for another day. So like usually the one character is like a very skilled fighter against the main character, and so or like whatever character they're going up against. So they have to do all these crazy flips and these moves and use the momentum against them. And it's always very interesting to see like a brawn versus skill because one person's clearly stronger. So it's like the stronger people, their punches mean more, but they can't get them off as much because the skilled person is faster. And their punches mean less, but they can get more of them in, and they can overwhelm the person and get them more tired. And I think good scenes like utilize that, and we see it like we see in the beginning, like at full strength, Peacemaker is no match for him in this like space. Judo Master clearly like beats the shit out of both him and Vigilante. But then when Judo Master is more injured, then John Cena has more of a chance, and then we see like this actual brain versus brawn where like Judo Master pulls all these flipping moves and gets all these like sort of like shots on him and stuff, but he's not at full power, so he can't do it as strong as he would. And he also can't do it as fast as he can, so John Cena keeps getting these like punches in. And the best part that they show this in is like this scene where they both smash each other's head in the car. And when John Cena smashes his head into the car, it breaks the window, but when Judo Master slams his head into the car door, John Cena just kind of like stumbles back and nothing happens to the window because he doesn't have the same raw strength that Smith does. So while at full strength, Junior Master probably could beat him, the fact of the matter is all his punches are so much more harder than his. We don't really know what could happen because the fight doesn't end, but we do see like John Cena did have a decent chance of winning that fight if Adebayo didn't shoot him during that scene. And I just think it's very interesting because you don't see it happen a lot with male characters. And I just think it's funny whenever they flip the script in any sort of way. There's no rhyme and reason to what reds I'm using at any given point. It just feels right in my soul, I suppose. There's so many characters with red, white, blue color schemes. And it probably initially was propaganda, but now they're iconic. So you can't change the propaganda. So then you get like all these 50 characters and are just basically American propaganda. So did they win? I suppose so. But this isn't very overtly American. I mean, his other attributes are, but like this specifically, his costume specifically isn't very overtly American. Okay. I don't know how even this is. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, well. Should have revealed yourself better. Okay. No. Oh well. We can have the blue later. I think my mom is hurting herself in the kitchen. She makes good food, but she can't not get a burn for her life. I'm just kind of mapping up the colors right now so I don't confuse myself again. Also, I might have made the head too big. I have that problem, which is why I like doing digital art more, because then I don't want to worry about making heads too big, because then you could resize it. It also means I don't learn how to make head sizes smaller. But, I don't know. Price you pay for technology. God damn. What was I prattling on about? Okay, now we're on episode 5, Monkey Dory. Okay, so Chris is in the morning. He's like making food. He gives some food to Goth because he kept the butterfly. He has it in a jar and he's like feeding it. Um, Adebayo talks with her wife. She's like saying she's sorry for being so distant, but she has to leave. Like she'll talk to her later. Blah 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 blah. They're experiencing some sort of issues. Um, they head out to go to Glam Tai. They also get a little PowerPoint presentation about butterflies because and like what they are and stuff. Is the first time like Chris actually gets like most of the information he needs. The whole time since he was the one to send his father to jail, Chris is just heckling him the whole time, and Vigilante's joining in, where we get the whole like, oh, he's just a bully because um, Adebayo tells him to knock it off, and clearly he's very, 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 very pissed about it, and he like begrudgingly kind of agrees, but kind of doesn't, and they get into the car to like drive to the shipping place, and he like puts in a metal like a some music, and him and Economos connect over it, so feeling some of the animosity lessen. There's also a scene where he's like, I couldn't think of anything else, and then like they rattle off like 50 different people, both real and not real, which I guess also exists in a certain way to the universe at large, I suppose. Um, Peacemaker's father ends up talking to the cops. They re-fingerprint him. They re-talk to the witnesses. The witnesses recount their statement. The fingerprints don't match, so they're gonna do something about it. Before Maroon leaves, he talks to this guy. Wait. Yeah, I'm not confusing myself. Yeah, he talks to this guy that was sent by Waller, presumably who's on their side, and goes to infiltrate the tops, basically pressuring the cop in this very creepy way that, no, the fingerprints did match, don't look into this, blah, 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 blah. He's not subtle in the slightest. And she feels like something's off. She goes to talk to her, uncle to get her a search warrant so they can search Peacemaker's apartment. While this is happening, they go off and infiltrate the facility. Peacemaker wears his X-ray helmet and shoots a bunch of the guys there immediately, and they realize the whole place is crawling with butterflies. So basically, everyone's just like shooting up the place. Vigilante and Hardcore end up getting stuck behind in this like control room because like there's a bunch of butterflies outside, and they find out that a gorilla was taken over by a butterfly named Charlie. You get the exposition for that. Smith ends up he puts a grenade to a tank shell and then like throws it to like kill the butterflies there. John Economos ends up coming out with a chainsaw and he kills the superpowered gorilla because he's like beating everyone's asses because he's a superpowered gorilla. Yeah, Super Bomb, Gorilla, Charlie, Double Down. Oh yeah, Captain Locke, Judge Judy, Search Warrant. Okay, they end up driving back. They're all like riding high on their success. Harker ended up taking a picture, as them all to the group chat. And it's like a whole thing called the 11th Street Kids. Adebayo drives back Peacemaker. They end up having a drink together, and they like connecting a little bit. Like he tells her about hardcore, and she like gives him some advice to be like more genuine and less of a creep around her. Maybe something will happen, and not to get it like too much with himself. And she like gives him advice and basically says that they're a team, they're a group, and he gets so overwhelmed that he goes off to cry in the bathroom, pretending that he just has to go pee. And it's in this moment that she uses an opportunity to um, basically plant a diary her mom told her to plant, um, which ends up having repercussions later. Um, then we find out a couple of things in succession. We find out that Mern is actually a butterfly. Because we see him eating some butterfly things and having a butterfly proboscis. And about to text her wife, like she sends like an email saying like she's having a hard time, she doesn't know if she can do what needs to be done, blah blah blah. There's a whole thing where it's just like, Mern seen as canon, his face may not be canon because the actor would be used for something else. We have 6, 7, 8. I got a little bit of rest before we work on other parts. I think that's all the red. I'm probably end up having to do things like the what should I call it? I guess it's to see if I have a gray. I'm checking out a little more dimension to pants. I'm probably gonna have to end up doing the metal part later because I don't really know how long this is gonna take. I also might change the type. This is more of a silver, I guess, but it adds a little bit more something to it. Because those two, black and white, I don't know if that makes sense to anyone. Okay, I need to stop singing songs. Let's copyright. Okay, that's a little bit better. I suppose just to me, it doesn't really look that much visually different, does it? Okay. This isn't really like metals. Like shiny metal, it's like dull metal, so I think I can actually do this part now. Doesn't refract that much light. Okay, I'll start doing the blue parts now. Let's get some new blue colors. Okay, where are we? 7. So, okay. Wait, does this happen here? Planning. There's both one. People name room. Diary. 20 questions. Yeah, no, that's after. Okay. Sorry. I was confusing myself in my mind. As per usual, I suppose. Okay. Blues and purples. It is a shiny blue, so I should have some different colors, I suppose. I don't really want to talk about this till I have all the colors I need. But the police have the search warrant, and they're gonna go and search warrant the place. And they get warned by the guy on the inside because he wasn't able to stop it. And they try calling Peacemaker and Vigilante, but they're trying to talk with Goth, doing like a yes or no system, and well, Vigilante's being Vigilante. I suppose now is the time to talk about it. There's something to be. Oh, maybe I added too many blues. So, Vigilante's character is very autistic coded sometimes. He has a hard time discerning sarcasm. He takes everything at face value. He has a hard time deciphering emotions from facial expressions. He pees with his like pants down, which might be a sensory issue thing. That's clearly like a joke thing. So he has all these autistic traits, but it's never once like stated that he's neurodivergent in any way. And also there's the fact that he is also like has sociopathic tendencies. He's delusional at best. He derives pleasure from pain. He believes himself to be some sort of arbiter of justice. His logic doesn't make that much sense. Oh, fuck. Like, he has very flawed logic when it comes to some things. And he's very delusional and he's very obsessed with Peacemaker. Vigilante is very much in love with Peacemaker. Whether it's a platonic love or a romantic love is someone, it's your interpretation. But, yeah, he's in love with him. And he has a lot of, he's just insane. So it's kind of, so I don't really know what he is. So he is, like, autistic coded in some ways, but he's also, like, a psychopathic murderer. But he's funny, and that's why everyone likes him. But if you, like, boil it all down, he's, like, messed up. Like, guy you want in jail messed up. Guy you want dead probably messed up. Because he believes himself above the law in some way. And they have to kind of... He's, like, okay with killing the wrong person. It's just a casualty sort of thing. So, yeah, he's, like, messed up, clearly. Sorry, I didn't think this blue would be so dark. This is why I'm not good at working like this. I suppose I should have a red on standby when I didn't do the red correctly. What's colors? Yeah, so, I know some people pick him as autistic and some people don't because he's not great autistic rap. I'm not the person to decide whether or not he's autistic rap. He just has some autistic traits that I felt would be bad to not point out at the very least. What else happens? Oh, Peacemaker goes to a school before the police come, and he, talks to a bunch of kids. He also, gives them all nicknames, and they basically, don't like him all that much, and this, connects to Jill. He might have a daughter, he might not. Who's to say, really? It's up to your interpretation. Nothing really comes from that scene. It's just a little funny. Maybe one of the kids in the class is his daughter. Maybe her mother doesn't know what she's talking about. So, while he's, at home talking to Vigilante and Goth, trying to, figure out why the butterflies are here, what's their goal, they finally answer the phone and they realize the police are outside, so they go up to the skylight. Adrian, I guess Vigilante, ties his the Charlie, they keep Goth into his side. They go up on the roof. They go through the trees. The cops are trying to find them. Eventually, Adrian ends up tripping, trying to do a like drinking like kind of joke, and he ends up falling, breaking the glass. The detective is there, and she's telling him to put his hands up, and then the butterfly ends up going in her, and this is the first time we see a butterfly go into someone. It is very violent. She immediately has a seizure and starts bleeding. They take that opportunity to run away as the actual cops show up. And they're like running through the woods. Eagle helps them out a little bit. It's the end of the line though, because there's only so much Eagle can do to a bunch of humans with guns. And then the guy on the inside helps him out. He kills one. Oh, he kills all three of them, and one of them while they're unconscious. And then he like, when the other detectives come in, he doesn't even pretend to be good. Like to care. He says that the Hamburglar was the one that shot the cops. But at this point, Sophie, the detective, had been taken over by the butterflies, so she does not care. She is trying to find. She's trying to regroup, so she just leaves while her detective is confused because she was, you know, just about to die like seconds earlier. Just trying to get these shoulder pads in. Shoulder pads done. Which glove should I do first? I guess I'll do the belt first. Um, so, yeah, they end up escaping. They find Murray and tell him what's going on. The guy on the inside hides the diary, and the detective is, like, not even really trying to hide being a butterfly anymore because she has to pivot. Because they're going after their cow, which is basically human doesn't support human food. They can't eat, so they had to bring over a cow that gives them like the food that they so desperately need. And goddamn, so hard. I don't know, adding a lot of dimension to this blue. I keep forgetting. Um, yeah. So basically, she's trying to like talk to her people and regroup because she already. We learned that Goth is actually the leader of the butterflies, and she's basically just talking to everyone, saying she has to redo things. She has learned something from being with Peacemaker, some sort of like kindness. Like she acknowledges that the host she took over cared about her partner, and I guess she says in a way to bring up some sort of peace, and she tries to smile at him like comfortingly, but she says everyone smiles differently, and it's a skill you have to relearn every time. And she doesn't really have the time to relearn that, so she tries to be somewhat nice. Um, to what she is putting him through. But she still doesn't really understand human emotions, so it's kind of a swing and a miss in a lot of ways. What else? What else? What else? What else? Um, we found out the vigilante likes pop music. He's a Swiftie, probably. Um, they know where the cow is being kept, so Goth knows that she has to fix it. That they have to take the cow somewhere else while they still have time. Um, well, she finds that out later, but she knows she needs to regroup because she knows that there's some people after her now in the cow. Okay. Peacemaker's father is out, so they have like this Nazi clan meeting. There's this Nazi chick, which she has sex with Peacemaker's father, puts on a helmet while naked, and then like puts on these thick clothing. And she had to take off her mask to put on that many pairs of clothing. And it's just like, why then? Bro, just put on your helmet later. You can still be you're literally a skinhead. You can be a Nazi without putting on your helmet immediately while you're laying in bed naked. Like, give it a second. Should keep that. Um, but yeah, so they're getting up. He's putting on the white dragon suit. He's gonna go kill his son. The butterflies are convening. She gets all of them to her. She brings them to the police station. They're taking over everyone in the police station. Bad guys, good guys, not so great guys, children, anyone they can get their hands on. They're all doing this weird smiling shit because they can't figure that shit out for the life of them. I brought all these blue colors out, and I'm only using like two of them. Admittedly, you know, I probably could use more, but I'm also losing my patience. Okay, I'm gonna go like that. We also like because the captain gets his name, like the guy on the inside also gets taken over because he's part of the police station. They know everything that they know because he's in on it. They also are able to set up a press meeting to talk about to say that they're going after Peacemaker and to like use the diary, and everyone finds out about the diary, and we suspect Adebayo because she's not very good at not being suspicious about it. Um, I we get this last scene of so we find out how Peacemaker's like brother died. Like his dad was doing this like thing where he basically made people bet on which one of his sons would win, and his Peacemaker hits his older brother too hard and ends up hurting him. He ends up having a seizure, hits his head, has a seizure, dies, and his father blames him. And that's where he started his Peacemaker vow. We'll learn more about that later. Um, but he like does this like piano scene about what happened to his like brother and how he feels about that. And last song he heard with him and his brothers where he got into rock music and stuff like that. Um, yeah. So this is like the first moment they're a team, and it's kind of like immediately under fire. Just a fun little nod there. There's also a scene where the cop guy tries to look sad that he killed all the cops because he was on the other time, and he's just complete psychopath about it. There is that. Okay. I don't know why I thought that would help. You know what? That'll have to do. That'll do, pig. I have like a. This. Oh, wait. No, I don't know if I can find. That was even worse than the white. I'll add the white back with like white paint later. White can like lighten things up, but not like by significant degrees in any way. Okay, huh. Now I can do the silver. I have no idea how to do metal. Um, but I suppose they'll find out on the fly. Oh yeah, we have to do the yellow first. Thank goodness. Okay, we're on episode 7. Stop dragging my heart around. So yeah, so this is where we learn exactly how Peacemaker's um brother died. They're in the ring, and Peacemaker was too young to know that he died. He just thought he was ignore him. That was actually the saddest scene for him. It's just like all the adults that like bet on these two kids fighting, like immediately knowing what happened, and then like little Chris just being like, ah, "Look at what my brother's doing," and then his father grabs him, says he killed him because he clearly doesn't want to shoulder that burden because he liked his other son. So now, though, based on what kind of father he is, like, I think that it doesn't matter which one of them would have died. I think his father would have claimed the other one was better because the other one, like, died at such a young age. They didn't really define himself in anyway. It's just kind of like we talk about Peacemaker and his father a lot. We see him cry over thinking about his dead brother. But we got no time for that because I'm going to kill the cow. I thought about talking about his father now, but there's a bigger scene that happens later, so I think I'll save it for that specifically. There's a little bit of yellow here. I should probably color in while I have a chance. Yeah. So let's try to, because I can probably do the some of the helmet in the last thing, and there's a lot of things to talk about here, and I don't want to get too distracted. It's just that I only have like the helmet to do. We'll sort of deal with that later. Okay, let's get through the bullet points first. So earlier, Adaba finds out the Martin is a butterfly. She freaks out about it, and she finds out that she was the only one besides Peacemaker and Vigilante not to know, and they're all cool with it. He has this scene where he's basically like, the butterflies came here, we came here because our planet was dying, and then it was fine, it was chill, we were just like living and eating. And then our leader decided to start taking over people for this like big plan, and I wasn't a part of it. And Abbas clearly like freaked out about it, and he's like feels a lot about what he had to do. He's like, I feel bad that I had to take over someone. I found the worst person I can, but even though he was the worst person I could find, he's still a person. I still took away his autonomy. He still could have changed, and I took that away from him, and I'll never forgive myself for it. And I remember stuff about him every single day of my life, and it haunts me. But this is the price you have to pay sometimes, you know? And I think they mentioned this, like, I think the actor mentions this, like, I'm not only talking to her and apologizing to her, but I'm apologizing to Mern for what I did and talking to him and asking for his forgiveness. John and Vigilante are driving back. They get ambushed by the Nazis that are after them. They flee. Vigilante gives them enough cover for them to flee into the woods. They get a raccoon to lead them off. They find Vigilante in the car. He had passed it a little bit because of the grenade. He threw its direction. They get into the car. They find out that they're tracking the car. They try to stop them, but the Nazis come. They end up fighting them a little bit, and then his father comes and he fights his father, and his father gets one over on him and is basically saying, like, you're unpure, I hate you, you should have died, I should have killed you when you had a chance. Um, you do all these things and I kill you in the name of blank. You're unpure. And then, um, Peacemaker gets one over on him and points a gun at him. He like punches him a couple times, basically telling his father that I that I'm not at fault for what happened to Keith. You're the one that killed him. Blah 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 blah. And then he holds a gun to him. His father's like, "You're never gonna get rid of me, no matter what you do. And you don't have the guts to shoot me." And then Peacemaker finds the guts to shoot him, and he shoots him in the face, and then he dies, and he cries about it. Vigilante does not understand he's crying about it. Then he does, tries to offer some care. It's creepy. Then the butterflies attack the compound they're in because they have the information that the guy on the inside does. They find Myrn, Annabelle and Herc are able to get out. They kill Myrn. They find out that he knows about the cow, so they have to go and fix that. And they end up killing then Loke, the butterfly within him. He also dies in Harcourt's arms. And that's the things that are happening here. Sorry, my back hurts. Okay. So, I just kind of want to touch on John Cena, on Augie and Chris's relationship. So, where do I want to start? In some way, shape, or form, whether it be because he's the only son left, or, some other reason, Augie cares about Christopher in a very conditional, one-sided, assholey way. I don't think he likes him very much at all, but he, helps him out, builds stuff, and then lets him use it, take cares of his ego when he's gone, and, like, and he knew all these stuff about Peacemaker. He listened to devil music, he slept with impure women and men, he was a bad son, he hated him, and didn't kill him all these years. And I guess there's an argument to be said that he didn't do all this stuff because he was semi-retired. But the second he gets into prison, he kind of just immediately goes to Nazi Klingon meetings. So I don't think he's as retired as we are led to believe he is. So I think there was some sort of care for him. I think maybe it was mostly based on he didn't have any family left. So he was giving him all these, allowances he wouldn't give to other people. And then when everything happened, he was just like, so whatever part of his body that gives somewhat of a shit about Peacemaker just immediately died after that prison scene, and he just, goes on this rampage. And this is something interesting. So, throughout this whole thing is just, Peacemaker's dad picking at him and picking at him, picking at him. And when we see anyone else picking at him, he immediately goes on the attack. Or when he assumes someone's going to be picking at him, he goes on the attack. But when it's his dad, absolutely nothing. No follow through, no commitment, no even, really raising his voice. He just takes it on the chin. And we see this a lot. It's, sometimes some people in positions of power, like Peacemaker, just sort of lets them walk over him in a way he doesn't let other people, especially his dad. And this is, I said, Hardcore's, biggest, all their problems with him is the fact that he's kind of a slave to authority. He doesn't think for himself. He has no autonomy. And the first time he has a sort of autonomy is he kills The first time he stands up to his dad, he punches him in the face 9 times and then shoots him in the head. And it's just, I relate to that as also a person that has no middle ground. It's 0 to 100, and there's no in between for me. I'm notoriously bad at getting bullied. Um, like people will talk shit, and then in 2 to 3 months in the middle of class, I'll just crash the fuck out, and then they'll never mess with me again. So I relate to the feeling of just as I said, in between those 2 months, I didn't talk to them. I didn't talk to the teacher. Or I was just pissed off, and then I crashed out. And it's kind of like with Peacemaker. Like you didn't see any really he does some small rebellions, but he does it more in the comfort. Like we don't really see him standing up for himself really. He tries a little bit by saying, "Hey, maybe you'll like me," but even then, he's just tail between his legs. And the first time he actually does something, it's shoot his father in the face. And I relate to that a lot. Just not really having a middle ground. Like you get me nonchalant or you get me angry. I'm mentally unstable though, so maybe I shouldn't be relating to assassin, but I get the idea. Um, yeah, Lucia also Goth is experiencing different feelings than she did in the Senator. We also get Chuck dying, so now Harcourt is the one in charge, and she's the one that's saying we have to go. We also see Harcourt and them all find out that she's Adebayo's. Adebayo is Waller's daughter. Myrn knew that, but she didn't. And in the beginning, we see Harcourt being I don't like anyone here. This is a punishment, blah blah blah. And then she starts liking them. And now it's us versus them. We're the only ones here that matter. If you're not dying for your crew, then what's the point of this? Then why are you doing this? We're a team. It's you and I against the world. Blah blah blah. So it's very a different thing. She gets mad at Adebayo for not being with everyone, but then everything happens with God, and then they get attacked by Judah Master. Even though Harcourt loses, it's able to distract him enough for Adebayo to taser him, and they seem to bury the hatchet a little bit. Because Harcourt says, you are good at this, even though Adebayo says multiple times that this is just not her. She's not built for this. She's built to be taking care of animals somewhere, which is what her original job is. And yeah, a lot of things, but we see it Adebayo is clearly she's oh, I'm gonna stop doing this. This is my last mission. I put in the diary and now I'm gone. But this is where she's starting to think things through, and because she admires Harcourt and the way she talks and stuff like that. Ugh. Okay. That comes more into fruition later, but we see how Harcourt's mentality to this has changed, and that she's a lot more forgiving, especially about Adebayo, and how Adebayo is starting to get more into what she's doing instead of considering it just a paycheck. But yeah. Now where's that gray? This is why people don't like too many colored pencils. Oh, that was there now. Is there a gray in here? No. Okay. I still have to do. I've never done metal before, but why not start now? What's the worst that could happen? It ruins the piece because this is the shiniest thing in there, and it's mainly what your eye is drawn to, and that's the reason I did it last, because it could tie and make or break the whole piece. Now that sounds ridiculous. Sorry, I'm not very funny right now. My voice hurts. I need to start building up my stamina a little bit better. But it's starting to cool down a little bit. It's 92. It went down 2 degrees. This is black, right? Okay. Last episode, Cal and Ever. So now they're at this like vet clinic because Peacemaker's dad like punched Eagly, and this is where we get like a sad scene. Chris being like, "This is my only friend. Please don't let him die, God." Like blah blah blah. That was a weird noise. And we see Eagly get up and hug Chris, which makes Adebayo change her mind and decide to help everyone. We also see how that like affects. Wait, what? Sorry. We also see the vigilante has to be talked out for killing all the nurses, the vet techs, and they just end up tying them out. And Harcourt is the one that they put in charge, and then she's like explaining what they all have to do, and everyone's getting very psyched about it, even the veterinarians, even though they had to leave them behind. In the end, and it doesn't even matter. I don't know if I'm fucking this up or not, huh? So they go, and like, Chris is very mad at Adebayo for what she did, and she's trying to talk to him, and then they do like fake farting noises because he's like immature, especially when he's hurt. And eventually, like, she says like the stuff that happened to you, you can't let your past define you. Like, you saying you want to do this because of like your brother and stuff, that you made like a vow, but like that's not who you have to be anymore. Like, don't let something that happened to you so young that wasn't even your fault be the driving force in your life. Like, do what you want to do. And we also see like later, like, he admits to her, or like he doesn't care about the dove of peace. He just kind of wants to stop killing. And she's like, everything? And he's like, no, just you can kill like the butterflies, just like, just not in the same willy-nilly way he does. He's starting to like care about what his like actions mean, like stuff like that. I don't know if I'm doing this well. And yeah, that'll do. So this is like a good time for him to hear that, because he's like starting to finally admit to himself what he wants out of life, and just like that he doesn't want to be who he used to be anymore, that he doesn't get joy from killing anymore, that doesn't make him feel good, and he doesn't like who's looking in the mirror back at him. So he seems to somewhat take it to heart, but he's still mad at her, and he finds out that he's Amanda Waller's daughter, and he's like, figures. And then they arrive at the ranch, where they see a bunch of butterflies posted around a barn, like moving things, and they take out a butterfly, and they decide to use the sonic helmet because that helped last time, so they're going to use the anti-gravity helmet to do that, and they're going to use Eagly. Both of those plans fail, so they have to go find it. Chris has like a little schizo moment where we realize that his father isn't as gone as you think he is, and they have like a little like rage bait moment, and then that ends up helping them find the helmet. So maybe it was all meant to be, maybe it wasn't. Depends on how you interpret that scene. They find the helmet, and basically their new plan is they're going to have John, since he's the only one they can't identify, dress up as a cop, and then take the helmet down. And he gets a little freaked out at the butterfly, and so he doesn't leave it the exact spot that he should, and then he like walks away. He gets stopped by the butterfly and Fitzgerald, who asks him why he has a dyed beard. We get a really sad moment where he's basically saying he doesn't get enough money, he doesn't care enough to like touch up the roots, but the reason he did it in the whole place is he wanted some connection because he never really had like a significant other in any like sort of way, and he thought this would help, and he just feels lonely, and really the only reason he did that in the first place, um, like he did so badly, was also because he like didn't think anyone would notice or care, until like one of his coworkers started relentlessly bullying him because of it. And I see like John Cena realizing for the first time that, oh yeah, no, his bullying isn't this cute little thing. Like, it hurt him when his father did it, and it hurts other people when they do, when it, like, it happens to them. Like, yeah, his actions are, like, hurting people. Yeah, I suppose that will have to do. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. Okay, we'll do the little metal accoutrement. We found out that one of these things is a blow dart, which is kind of cool. I mean, I'm sure it also happened in the Suicide Squad movie, but I haven't watched that recently, so who's to say? Yeah. So, yeah, that's a sad scene, but he has to say all that stuff because he has to pretend to be a butterfly, and he's also trying not to, like, cry during it, because the butterflies don't show emotions to that. And the butterfly in Fitzgerald says, oh, humans are so pathetic, and he's like, yep. And then he continues to go. Then one of the other butterflies said, you left this thing, and then they all turn on him, and you think he's going to die because they get one on him, and then they activate the sonic helmet, so everyone runs back to try to save the cow. And while that's all happening, there's like 4 charges in that thing, and then they go off and charge against the butterflies so that John can go there and make sure that the cow is dead. So, Vigilante, Peacemaker, and Hardcore both take out as many as they can to clear a path for Peacemaker. He goes through. Both Adrian and Hardcore end up getting shot, and a butterfly is about to go inside Hardcore. And at this point in time, Adabaya notices this and says, not on my watch. I'm built for this shit. You know, I'm good at what I do. I can save her. And then she goes, dices up a bunch of, you know, butterflies, and then saves Harcourt. And like John sort of joins him, but he also ends up like breaking his leg on a fence. Things. Okay. Adabaya is told to go down to help Peacemaker, so she goes with the human torpedo helmet. She goes down there. Chris experiences a sort of like, whatchamacallit? It's a cave-in? Yeah, cave-in. So she goes and she gets him out of it. And then they go, and then Goth attacks them, and they fight. She has to use the human torpedo thing. It does not work at all. She just kind of ends up getting a concussion. Goth kind of defeats him, and then she tells him to come because she cares about him. This is where we also get to reveal to the Butterflies' plan. So their planet was destroyed by people putting greed above other things, and she sees the same thing happening on Earth, and so that's why they're taking over to stop it, because at the rate they're going to destroy the planet. And she tries to appeal to John because his whole mentality, the whole thing he's been talking about this whole time, the one thing people think they know about him is that he'll do whatever it takes. That he's the guy, as he said, I'll kill whatever man, woman, and child I need in order to achieve peace. And that's what everyone thinks he is. And Goth has seen his kindness because he kept her fed and stuff. But she also thinks she knows him because she knows this one fact about him that everyone else thinks just defines him. And so she says, help me. We're working for the same goal. We want the same things. But the fact of the matter is, Goth is the only one who wants those things. Goth is the only one actually embodying those ideals. And that's not who Chris is anymore. And so he ends up killing her, like shooting her in the head, so the butterfly escapes, blowing up the butterfly by doing the human torpedo so Adebayo goes through it. And then he leaves the compound. He takes Hardcore, takes her to the, like, what should I call it? Takes her to the hospital. Aging into the hospital, he collapses because he got shot a bunch of times. While they're walking through, there's a Justice League there, and he's like, what are you guys been this whole time? It's like, where you been, Loka? And, like, cusses them out. Those people are canon, but, does happen. There's a end credit scene of a fashioning John Cosmos, and then we got sort of like the petering out of the stuff, where we got Hardcore, like, being Jenny happily that Chris waited for in the hospital, that she's like doing all this physical therapy. Like Adebayo sees her wife and she like clears Peacemaker's name. Peacemaker admits that behind Eagly, she's the one that's his best friend and he forgives her. And she like we're like this is sort of the poison ivy debate of it all. In like the last sort of end credits. Oh, you'll see John like hanging up the picture in his new office, and he has a splint because he broke his leg, which probably like ties into Creature Commandos. Anyways, so we see the last thing I want to talk about is the sort of is the Butterfly plan a good thing? Now, sorry, I'm just gonna. So, yeah, I'm just gonna mess with something real quick. Don't mind me. Um, so the whole debate of it all is whether or not the butterfly's plan is correct. And as I said, the whole Poison Ivy debate is whether or not Poison Ivy is, I guess, not a great character, but like, is she right at the end of the day? Because human beings are very greedy. They do not care about the environment. Well, okay, I'm not just saying this way. So we get told a lot when we're kids and stuff that we have to recycle. And you guys remember like the people that used to come in and do like these school like announcements, and then it's just like a bunch of these like youth leader types that are like, oh, it goes down to the landfill, and it's like reduce, it's like reduce, reuse, recycle, or it was like reduce, reuse. I don't remember. It was a while ago, but we get learned about like all these different ways we're supposed to like save the planet and stuff. Um, but we can't even like admit that like climate change is real across the board, and it's sort of like um the like double-edged sword of it all. I guess the double-edged sword is not. It's just like, yeah, there's only so much a modern day consumer can do because it's all about these corporations that don't follow all these rules, that cut corners, that take down the rainforest and up our carbon footprint, and all these celebrities that use these private jets. And there's like the whole like matter is like, oh, is Poison Ivy right for killing all these people to save the environment? Is she right for thinking that human beings are a plague upon this world? Like, is she right for any of it? Should she be allowed to do what she wants in order to? And there's the whole human morality element of it where it's like, um, every human life is sacred and, you shouldn't do whatever. That's a boring argument. Valid, but boring. And there's like the argument of like, maybe if you had to kill a few people for the better of the world, maybe that's what should happen. And if the people you're killing are bloodthirsty, money grubbing sycophants, then really what's the harm? Because they're not going to change. And no laws are going to be introduced that are going to make them change. Because they'll just go somewhere else even if there is laws. And it's kind of the same with the butterflies. Are the butterflies right for wanting to impose their will on us? If they're gonna save the world, if like they take out a few people, especially like people in charge, like politicians and celebrities, in order to make the world a better place, is that a good thing? And I guess I'm gonna bring theology into this because I went into Catholic high school. I don't believe in God anymore. There's a lot of reasons why people don't believe in God anymore. The one I never understood was, if God exists, then why do bad things happen? I never understood that argument. To me, it always felt like that wasn't his job. We see in like the Old Testament that he is like this vindictive guy. But if he were to rid the world of all the evil people, like we see him doing to the people in like Sodom and Gomorrah, I don't remember. And like with Noah, is that he had to keep doing it again. You can't get rid of evil. It isn't something you can't just cull the herd over like once and then all the evil's rooted out and everyone will be okay and society will work the way it's supposed to. And it's no, someone's always gonna be evil, someone's always gonna come back. And I'm not saying this in a defeatist or way that nothing really matters because evil always exists. I'm just saying this in a way where you can't expect to just kill evil in a bloody sort of human war kind of way. You can't just go around and kill as many humans as you can that are evil. Because first of all, you kind of started doing that in the Salem witch trials, and it gets a little shaky. Because your definition, you have to define what evil is first, where the baseline is. And that starts to get tricky. Because someone would like, maybe this one, someone can change over the course of life, someone can change for the better, someone can change for the worse. So should you cut it out at the root to start any evil from happening? Do you kill people with these traits because it's more statistically able to? And it gets a little murky there. But then there's also the idea that if God were to stop all these like bad things, like stop evil, he would have to impose will on us, take away our free will, and that's the only way every bad thing stops happening. Short of like putting a force field every time there's someone with a hurricane or whatever. It just was like how they want to interpret it, but that always felt like a lot. Just like no consequences, whatever. Like you drive drunk, but you're like a good person, but you just didn't know because you're young. Everyone survives. Then you have no consequences, and you can do whatever you want because as long as you don't hurt people deliberately, you can do whatever you want to your body because God's gonna save you. But that's not the point of what I'm saying. What is it saying? If God were to like free everyone from evil, you would have to take away free will. Because if you don't have a choice to choose evil, you can't be evil. And it's the same thing with the butterflies. Is yeah, they're doing this good thing, but they're imposing their will on us. It's not our choice to change. It's not our choice to live or die. It's their choice. In the only way to completely rid the world of evil, full stop, across the board, is to take away free will. And that's what the butterflies are doing. And that's not the reason Christopher did it. It was because, oh, they're being, evil. Like, it's not what this is about. But it's, James kind of says the reason he did it is because if he went with them, he would have to, like, kill his friends. You know? And he cares about his friends, and he was choosing his friends. Because, like, Harcourt would have died, and Vigilante would have died. And he didn't want any of those people that he cared about to die. And that's why he chose it. And it's a bit of a selfish reason. But if you look deeper into it, if the only way for human beings to live without evil completely and wholly, the only way to never be hurt again, the only way to never feel harm, any negative consequences for your actions, you had to be puppeteered like a puppet. You had to have every choice laid out in front of you, and you had to be forced to take it. You had to live in a bubble with no independent thought. Really. Is it worth it? If the people you love, because politicians are bad, and some celebrities are bad, but there's also some good people that care about them. And if the people you cared about, if they got bad, they would just cease to exist. But not even just die, because you can deal with someone dying. It's hard, but you can recover from that. Not dying. No, they get taken over, and they lose every part of themselves, but their bodies are still walking around like these empty husks. So every day you have to see this person that you once loved, but they're a completely different person. And you're never going to get them back. Is that what you want? Is that a perfect society? Is that worth the world probably dying? I mean, we can never say when they're not. We beat out the sun for destruction of the planet Earth, but it's not a far out possibility. But is that whole idea worth it? It's just something to kind of chew on about from that like final sort of chapter. Um, uh, there's a lot. It's just like, what are you willing to sacrifice? And is free will one of those things? Is your autonomy worth anything to you? If you never had to hurt again? Just something to think about, I suppose. There's a lot of other things to consider, like going into like Peacemaker, like as long as you put the effort in, if you put the steps in, like anyone can change, and you have to give people the opportunity. Because as funny as Peacemaker is, he's a bit of a bad friend. Like Peacemaker's doing this like introspection and stuff, of like why his best friends are like people are gonna talk back, like why he hurts people. Does he even want to hurt people? And like Vigilante's kind of like the one trying to like pull him back to what he was. Which, like, in any other situation, like, cut them off. But Vigilante's funny, so he gets to stay. And, like, it's just, like, the whole idea is just, like, anyone has the capacity to change. That's, like, a sort of lesson in it. There's also sort of, like, the idea that, like, oh, hurting people because you're hurt doesn't help anyone. It just means you're not going to connect with people. It just means you're just going to feel the same bad feelings over and over in a fucked up feedback loop. It means you're never going to be able to connect with anyone. And you are, your own worst enemy at the end of the day. I don't know. There's a lot of, like, it's a really good TV show. There's a lot of things to think about because of it. And I can't wait for tomorrow. Um, that's about all it. I've been talking for so long. My everything hurts. I need to add some white paint to this. I might add the blood splatters, I might not. That is up to future me. But, yeah, I'm gonna add some white paint to this with highlights. And then I'll upload it later onto Instagram and YouTube later. Thank you for everyone who's watching this or wants to watch it. It's not really for that. I kind of just do this because all these thoughts kind of get stuck in my head. And not a lot of people in my life want to listen to them. And the people that do, they can't listen to them forever. So I'm kind of like just stuck with them. And I'm very much of a hoarder when it comes to certain things, and my thoughts are one of them. I guess I just want to remember this, even if no one really ever watches ever at all. I just want it to be here. It also gives me a chance to get better at art. Because my major isn't art, so I don't get to do a lot of art that I don't have to force myself to do. And it's good to set out some time to do that. And I also get to watch a lot of things that I want to watch and think about them in deeper ways. Because this is something that I just always do in my head. And then I can only talk about it for like 30 minutes with my family who's never watched it. I'm getting a little off track. My point is, if you did watch it, thank you. You didn't have to, but I appreciate it. I guess I'm supposed to say drop a follow. I always feel uncomfortable saying that. But I will say this. Next week, I think I'll be doing a painting of Harley Quinn, and I'll be doing the first Suicide Squad movies. I just wanted to get the DCU out of the way because I'm very excited for it personally. I was not alive during Marvel. Like, when the first one came out, I was but a sperm. And so I'm very excited to be able to actually consume all the media that I want to for something that I'm really into. I've always been into DC more than Marvel, but I still like some Marvel projects, but by the time I was old enough to watch all these things, I could only watch some of them, and it was already kind of going downhill. So the point is, I'm really happy to be able to consume this while it's coming out. And so I wanted to honor that by doing my first things here. It's not the only thing I'm going to be able to do. I'm probably going to do a Jurassic Park movie because I watched that recently. And a lot of classic action movies because that's just what I'm into the most and what I can understand and remember the most. I probably going to do the Fast and Furious movies because I like them. So if that interests you at all, just keep watching. Whatever speed works for you. Not to watch it live. It freaks me out anyways. So thank you and goodbye, America.